Hello, all. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining this APGI's virtual meetup. And we would like to thank each and every person each and every participant who is participating in this session today. And we would like to also thank Agile Waters for providing the platform for us to host a meetup this afternoon. Thank you very much. Let's begin.
Um, Great. Okay. Um, so so we what we do is to welcome you guys, which we have done already, and we will see who are we. I know not many of them would have attended any kind of APGI meetups or conferences in the past. So we will give a brief introduction about what APGI is all about, and of course, I will start explaining the flow of the call, and I will also introduce you to our wonderful panelists that have humbly accepted our invite today to become the panelists to discuss on the said topic. And we will get into the topic discussion right after that for 40 minutes. Everything is going to be time boxed here. Whether you like it or not, I will be your facilitator for today. And my name is Sri Harsha. Um, and after the 40 minutes of topic discussion, we go straight into another 40 minutes of question and answer. And I will explain the process how we can take the questions from people like you. And then we finally close with obviously a little survey to retrospect our session today. So that is going to be your flow of discussion today, or if you may want to call it as an agenda. Um, let's go straight in. Who are we? So APGI was founded in 2015 in Pune, while Vijay Wade, who is one of the panelists, Manjunath, who probably is not on the call, but as you see my screen, there is one person who's wearing a hat kind of a thing with the dhoti on in the front row, and that person is Manju. And of course, myself, Sri Harsha, you can't see me in the picture, or at the background we have a little photo on the banner, so you can see me on the Zoom or LinkedIn or wherever that is. So we three got together. We started this as a non-profit group. We didn't want any commercial benefit around, because we wanted to kind of all three of us had the same objective of spreading agile awareness across the globe and really bring Pune to a place where we look at that as an agile capital. So um, I wouldn't say we failed there, but because we have seen success over a period of years. We've seen 200 250 plus people attending our conferences. Three annual conferences we've completed so far. One was due in the month of April 17th, 18th. Unfortunately, because of the COVID situation, we were not able to execute that. However, the program slotting, everything is done. And whenever we have the green signal from the government of India, we should be cracking on with another great annual conference for this year, or possibly early next year. So we will wait and see how that goes. While I'm extremely proud to state that this is a volunteer driven group, and we three are just the backbone of it, but we essentially leave these 930 people to take decisions how to drive the group, etc. And to the likes of Scrum Alliance, they have liked the work we have done, and they've also been proudly associated with us for the last couple of years. And 24 meetups so far, excluding this. So this one will be the 25th. And as I said, the one of its kind of having an open panel discussion um, in form of a virtual mode. So you guys, all participants here today, are going to be a part of history for APGI. Thank you for that. Okay, so that's who we are, and we go straight into the working agreement for today. When I say working agreement, not uh, really strict on these, but it's always good to understand the boundaries that we're working under. All lines will be muted until you get uh, to a point where we start our question and answer session, except for panelists. And as I said, you like it or not, my voice will be continuously heard for the next 90 minutes. My line will be open just to facilitate the whole show. And of course, the panelists' line will be unmuted. so that they can also answer your questions. So please do not enable your videos today, considering the bandwidth issues and some rains we've had in India. So we don't want anybody to lose out on these valuable session. Um, but we are recording this. We are recording the session. It's going to go straight up on our YouTube channel right after the meeting or the session. Um, the panelists are identified on chat window as APGI-panelists and their name. So if you go to the chat window, you can actually see their name prefixed by APGI panelists, say Rahul or Vishal or Vijay or people in that category. Okay, so if you probably will have that in mind, what if I have a question? So there is a feature called raise hand in Zoom, so you can click on that, and our moderator, technical moderator Mayuresh, will pick those questions and shoot it towards the panelists, towards the question and answer session. However, the panel discussion is designed in such a way that I'm not sure how many of you know that we have a Telegram group going on within APGI. And in the past few weeks, we've had a discussion on Scrum Master in terms of different aspects of Scrum Master, where we had a good discussion there. Then we said we're going to stop it there. We would not want to rely on these kind of process and documentation too much. What we want to do is to have a virtual connect, talk to people face to face like this very session which we have scheduled, and because of that, we've scheduled this session today. So. I mean, that's how proactive this particular group is. Volunteers said we need it, and we have it today. Okay, so and that's one way. Another way is to put your question in the chat window, prefixing that by a Q, a capital Q, followed by your question, so that it helps our technical moderator to feed the questions, to segregate the questions with the other chat items to our panelists. Okay, so whenever you ask question, you either raise your hand. When you raise your hand, when your question and answer session time comes up, we unmute your line only so that you can ask your question to the panelists, and panelists will start answering. Panelists will time box their answers because you know it's a time boxed event. 2 minutes per question that you're going to ask. And likewise, you can also type your questions on chat window by prefixing it with a Q for question. Okay. So hopefully the working agreement for today is clear, and we go straight into the subject of the day. First question, which kind of came out of our discussion, is who is a Scrum Master? What are his or her primary responsibilities? We all know, if you Google this, you're going to get the answer. If you search this on Scrum Guide, you get the answer. But in this session today, we are not here to understand textbook answers or somebody who has written some kind of a blog, which is again a copy paste from a Google. No, we don't want that. What we want is real time experiences of all those folks who have been chosen as panelists, because they come with some good credentials and heavyweights in Agile fraternity. So um, I would like to start with the panel discussion. I mean, the first question in the panel discussion area with Nagini. Nagini, would you want to take a stab at this as to who is a Scrum Master and what are his or her primary responsibilities? After you finish your views, giving your views on this, may you pass on to another panelist who is available today, so that you guys can answer this question within the time box between 5 to 7 minutes. I will time everything, and you get 5 to 7 minutes from now. Nagini.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. So, for me, anybody who's actually working in an agile environment is always observed in their daily activities more than what Scrum describes or prescribes, right? So, for me, a Scrum Master has to be self aware how to organize himself before making a team self organized. And whenever there is something kind of a distraction which is happening to the team, he has to be the first person to stand out and say no to that and to be affirmative. It is not like they have to be negative or to be forceful, but they have to be affirmative in their stance. And moreover, what I see them is like, if I can add, they have to be community builders where they encourage teams to become self-organized. Not only that, but also they have to see all the team members to be acting as a servant leader themselves. And I would like to invite Albert to add his views on this. Thank you.
Hi, thanks, Nagini. To me, a Scrum Master is like a MC of an event. We all have gone to various Alliance Meet, outing, and all the stuff. We would have had an event guy, but if you see him, you would have not even met him. But in 10 minutes, he will bring the team together. He uses all his tools, various ways. He never put himself in the front. Rather, he puts the team in front of everyone and showcase their skills through his facilitation, through his coordination. At the same time, if something goes bad, as Nagini told, he is standing in front to sense that and fix that. So that is a quality or a primary responsibility, I would say, for a Scrum Master. He need to bring the team together, make them self-organized, and after some time, the Scrum Master can take a step back and he can just be watchful. That's it. So that's how I see a Scrum Master to be in the team. So I want to know from Rahul Shah to talk about his views on this.
Yeah. So who is Scrum Master? As I think Sri said that you Google and then you will find out who the Scrum Master is. But to me, Scrum Master is a good human being. And a good human being will always treat the other members of the team or any member, any employee of the company as a good human being. Scrum Master, what he will do, what are his main or primary responsibilities? Yeah, we call him Scrum Master, right? Master of Scrum. So not just about implementing Scrum, but I would say to get the real benefit of the Scrum. Why we are doing it? He won't enforce the team members that you must do Scrum. I think Nagini also talked about he will walk the talk. Who is the Scrum Master? He will not have to say that how you should be doing the things, but based on his walking, being agile, he will demonstrate that what needs to be done. He will not be enforcing the team, but as and when required, he will mentor, he will coach the team, he will train the team and get the real benefit out of this one. So his primary responsibility will be not just the Scrum team, but towards product owner as well. To become to have a very good bonding between the team and the product owner. That's what he will be doing it. As and when required, he will be ready to take up the challenge. As our topic is superhero, right? So what will be his primary responsibility with respect to the topic we have? He will make other team members feel as a superhero. He will make sure the team wins. See, for him, the responsibility will be if the team wins, he is a winner. So from that outlook, I would say the Scrum Master is a very pivotal role and certainly very interesting one as well. Yep.
So we have 2 more minutes remaining on this question. Any other panelists want to give a stab at it? Any other panelists who have not participated in this question? Do you want to bring in your real life challenges or any kind of experiences, examples that you want to quote? You have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Hi, I'm Vijay. Am I audible to all of you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll also take a stab at that question. So yeah, picking from the title itself, a Scrum Master, in my perspective, is a super humble servant hero. So I say that. I call him Super because he's the one who brings the knowledge of Scrum theory, Scrum values, Scrum practices, rules. He himself remains up to speed with the newest techniques, and while he brings this knowledge to the table, he ensures that the assimilation and absorption of it in the team is very passively done, which means he wouldn't himself explain the goals. To take some examples from my daily working, he wouldn't himself, I wouldn't explain myself the goal or the domain knowledge or the scope to the team. But what I'll ensure is that I bring the focus of the discussions at various events or even on one-to-one conversations to those topics. I'll ensure that those topics are being surfacing in right way and bringing the right substance so that everyone is very gradually understanding that. And yes, in that way, he'll empower the people and the team, rather the Scrum team, to self-organize and self-manage.
Fantastic. Thank you, Vijay. And I think that's about time for the first question, which we had time boxed. Now let me go straight into the second question, which is: as Scrum Masters or already coaches coaching their teams, do they need any additional Agile Coach certification to prove their worth? Now, I'd like to begin this conversation with Sahil.
Hey, sorry,
Sahil?
I was not able to unmute myself. I'm in now.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Ri. So, as Scrum Masters are already coaching their teams, I would say that the only reason where they would need Agile Coach certificates is two reasons. One is if the certificate is an area where he or she has not had any experience and wants to learn more, or in some cases it might be a new organizational construct where the team is new, the organization is new for Agile, and they want to start with some credibility. And the only way an organization which is new to Agile will kind of understand credibility is if there is any certification kind of underlining it. And once the credibility is proven, then I think that culture will be set that certification is not necessary to prove a worth, but an additional learning feature itself only. I will like to pass on to Vishal Prasad.
Thanks, Sahil. Ah, that question seems little, I wouldn't say incorrect, but inconvenient for Scrum Masters in my head. It says that do we need an Agile Coach certificate to prove our worth? I don't think it's possible for Scrum Masters, or rather, a Scrum Master and Agile Coach who's hell-bound in proving one's worth may actually fail, and that would be counterproductive. So, very much to what Sahil said, yes, I don't think that you need certification to prove anything, but yeah, it's good knowledge. So, every certification that we have seen with regards to coaching, be it uh, Scrum Master itself is a coach certification. You have multiple levels from Scrum Alliance, Scrum.org, IC Agile. It's all good knowledge, and it all depends on how you make good use of it. Let me pass on to uh, Rahul Sharma.
Thanks, Vishal. Uh, so I believe that it's required or not, I'm not sure. I mean, it depends on the maturity of the organization. But I feel that it's basically these certifications are a good journey. So if you want to choose any kind of agile certifications or agile coaching certifications, then I think it's always good to choose a journey because on that journey you learn a lot. So like there are some certifications to achieve that. Even to apply for it, to prepare your application, it takes like more than a year. So I won't say that a certification will make you an agile coach from coaching perspective as soon as you are done with it, but basically the journey makes you capable of handling different situations in different organizations. So this is a place where your journey is more important than your destination. That's what I think. So any certification, and do please do practice. If you are not practicing what you have learned, then there's no sense of doing any certification. So yeah, and I would like to pass this question to Vijay Wade, if you can add a few more points.
Hey, hi, Rahul. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think Vishal, you and the earlier panelists, you actually put a lot of things. However, I have a different view altogether. I don't really go to certification, and I wear two hats here. Being heading Agile Waters Consulting, I would have a commercial approach to it, but I would like to go on a normal approach. I relate any of the Scrum Masters to a role called mother, and I believe everyone knows mother. A mother does not need a certificate so that the world can call she's a great mother. She's not a so good mother or something like that. So this is a journey that you achieve. You care for your kids and family, where a mother has to take care of kid, protecting her or him, and has to take care of father or other family members in a different way. So Scrum Master or mother understands the needs of different stakeholders in the team. Now I have a very situation, especially in India. Even in this talk, I heard majority of the people when Scrum Master comes into picture, people say he. I have rarely seen, and that is generally in Europe. I have seen that whenever a Scrum Master is coming into picture, people say she. So I have a complaint from Indians that people should say also she. I'm not saying only he or something like that, or only she, but he and she, because Scrum Master role relates more to mother. So I am of an opinion that you need some knowledge base wherein it will help you to become a good Scrum Master or a good mother. Maybe you see certain channels, certain videos or something. I don't know. I mean, there might be your friends who's telling you or coaching you, but certifications may be a standard approach that they will tell you certain tools. I don't think in 2 days or 3 days you can become a coach or a good Scrum Master. You will just get to know certain tools. So that wise it is important, but there's no another way to your experience. Yeah, I think I'm done.
Okay. We have another 30 seconds if anybody wants to give a quick one on this. Just 30 seconds.
I have a take on this. For me, to prove my worth, I don't need a certificate for that. But to enhance my knowledge, yes, I need to take a journey on the path that is laid before me. For that, yes, certification is one of the way, but it is not a tool to prove the worth of a person. It is the worth of the person should be seen through the action rather than certificate.
Okay.
That's my take on it.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. This is the our panel what they feel on the second question, which is put up on there. Now, let me go to the third one, and the third one I'd like to bring a scenario. Okay, and the scenario is we all know what a daily stand up or a daily Scrum meeting is. It is a meeting that Agile teams hold daily, which is time boxed obviously to 15 minutes, and during a Scrum meeting. Members typically answer those three questions that we all know as to what did you do yesterday, what did you do today, what are you going to do today, and what are the blockers. So during this, we also know the importance of why we need to have a daily stand up meeting as agilists. Now, one day you will be surprised and shocked to know some developers hate these meetings. Now, what do you think is the issue, and what are your recommendations to resolve this situation? I'd like Anand to give this a start. Our panelist Anand, if you can give this a start, your time box starts now.
Hi all. This is a very common problem in most of the Scrum teams. Like when basically the your
Sorry, Anand, we lost you.
Basically, when your development team is not going to see value in participating into the daily stand up, then they have a lot of resistance towards participating into this meeting. So, if you are going to be a scrum master, primarily like what you are going to be the coach for the team, we need to understand what is that which is causing them to not participate into this meeting, or why is that they see there is no value participating into this meeting. If we are focusing on that value, right, and it can lead to couple of action items, whether they don't understand the purpose of the meeting. Is it going to be a daily, like what they are going to have a daily huddle to plan the actions required to meet the end goal within the sprint? Or is it going to be a status meeting? Or they looking at it as a status meeting, hence they are not interested? We need to understand what is the background behind it. And then basically, it will, like if you are looking at it from the 5 Scrum values, you should bring about a culture of openness and courage for them to be opening up to discuss why they are not seeing value into this conversation, this 15 minutes. Then we will be able to address that particular issue. That is how a typical coaching stance should be, like what going into it. My take on it.
Thank you. Do you want to pass it on to another panelist for his or her view, please?
Uh, I will leave it to Nagini again.
Thank you, Anand. So, as you said, yeah, that is a toughest thing to see what is the root cause. But I feel like, because usually developers, they don't want to be led or managed because they feel they are knowledgeable enough to handle themselves. So I feel like, giving them the uh, uh, autonomy or discretion of how to perform the work, if we are not interfering into that and just tell them that, we all need to have the sense of common goal and vision, and this is going to help us to just check ourselves every day, that where we are today, and anybody in the team requires any help, if that is, if that uh, feeling or that sense is given to these people, maybe they can actually relate to what is a stand up meeting, what is the importance of it, and maybe they will take it as a good input process. I would say, you know uh, some people may be having this problem of giving up the control, to other people if they are exposed. Maybe that is one of the reasons they don't actually come up for these stand up meetings, the old school of thinking. So if we actually touch base on that point and, get them into this groove of a common goal and vision, maybe it would be a success to have all of their buy in for attending a stand up meeting and actually give their 2 cents in that meeting. Why is that important to attend it and give their inputs? That actually helps them to connect to that meeting and look forward for that meeting. So that is my thought on that. Uh, so, yeah, Rahul Sharma, can you take on that?
Yeah, thanks, Nagini. So I believe that at a lot of places, it becomes a problem when it becomes a meeting, Scrum Masters meeting. Okay, so now there is a uh, it's stand up when the stand up belongs to, or the daily Scrum meeting belongs to the Scrum Master, then it becomes a problem. So I think the team need to understand that it's a part of a planning process. It's for the team. Scrum Master or product owner, they have nothing to do with it. They can be there. Uh, uh, Even Scrum Master can facilitate if it is needed, but it's basically a Teams meeting. Uh, Now it has become a Teams meeting, Microsoft Teams meeting. So and important, because I remember one Scrum Master. She, okay, she also came. So
Awesome.
she was battling that. she was battling that I don't know why my team is not attending the daily scrum. They are not coming. I mean, few people are not coming, and then someone asked that. Okay, I mean, what is the reason? I don't know. I mean, now we have it at 7 a.m. and the team is not attending. Okay, but why at 7 a.m.? Because I start my work at 6. Okay, but you are a scrum master. I mean, why? I mean, it should be the team who should decide the time. That is the reason. Now you reason why people are not attending that. So it should not become someone else meeting. People should understand it's a part of the planning onion. It's for team, not for someone else. So that's my thinking. I would like to uh, uh, call maybe Vijay Datrak.
Just a minute remaining, guys. Less than a minute. Go for it.
Great. Already very great views and opinions being put on the topic. I have also personally faced this very common scenario a couple of times. What I resort to is conversations, basically. Try to have one-on-one conversations with people who seem to be disinterested. Because one of the roles of, or rather, responsibilities of Scrum Master is that he's a coach. So try to coach people in one-on-one sessions. Other way around is having a session all together with the team to identify or to take back to the starting point, as in why we adopted Scrum in first place, why is it important to the team, what kind of problems it is solving, and highlighting those issues should always hopefully solve such problems. Yeah, so basically conversations and coaching people are my ways of dealing with this common scenario.
Fantastic. Thank you. Um,
Uh,
to all
just
those who have, yeah.
just to kill those 20 seconds. I know my
No,
20 seconds are
it's
remaining.
done. We are
Oh,
done.
is it done? Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No
The
problem.
next one is again a statement from my side, which is the Agile Manifesto says it's people over process. Isn't the Scrum Master a role in enforcing this process? So, therefore, isn't this statement a contradiction? I'd like to like Atulya to give this a start, please. Atulya.
Thanks. Okay. So individual and interactions word process and tools, right? And Scrum Master is the process owner.
Can you be a little louder, Atulya? We are unable to hear you as clear as we could. So, can you be a little louder, or you want to increase your volume?
Is it okay now?
Yeah, yeah, perfect. Go for it.
Okay. So I was saying the very first value of Agile Manifesto talks about individual and interactions or process and tools. And on another hand, Scrum Master is your process owner. He is the guy who manages your processes, right? Uh, the difference is that manifesto don't says that this is not something you don't do. Process is something you don't do, right? This it simply implies that you need to take you need to give weightage to individual and interactions or processes and tools. And my understanding is that uh, your Scrum Master is utilizing those processes that lightweight framework of Scrum to imbibe that individual and interactions within the team. So this is
Okay.
my take.
Okay. Who do you want to nominate next, please?
Uh, go with this, Abhishek.
Sorry, was it me? Okay.
Vishal Prasad.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would nominate to Vishal. Thanks, man. Shri, sorry, but can you repeat the question once again for me?
Yeah. Okay. So, sorry about that. The Agile Manifesto says people over process. Isn't the Scrum Master a role in enforcing the process? Therefore, I believe this statement, people over process, is a contradiction when it comes to a Scrum Master. What do you guys think?
Well, it says individuals and interactions over tools and processes. Scrum is a process framework, agreed. And one of the responsibilities of the Scrum Master is to take accountability of the process.
However, that's just one of the things that the Scrum Master does. So it's still, since it's individuals and interactions over tools and processes and not that tools and processes disappear. Yeah, the Scrum Master will take care of the process, true, but taking care of people is still primary, and that's something that should happen anyway. So it doesn't go away. It complements and complements in a much better way, I think. Um, Thing to Albert.
Okay. So my take on this is, when you're riding a bicycle on the day one, do you ride without anybody holding the cycle? A Scrum Master is like that when we are starting the journey of Agile. He gives the boundaries. He helps us to understand our boundaries on which we can play around. So he is like that person who holds that cycle from the back where you ride in the front. So when he sees the confidence in you, he just leaves the hand and take your path in the journey of Agile. So in terms of people and process, his role is like that. Okay, so he initially sets, hey, we need to do this for 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 4 hours, 2 hours, all those boundaries. And then now we are confident that this team can do by themselves. They are self-organized. And then he moves out. Here there's no contradiction. Rather, he is just trying to help the process part of it. That's all. This is my take on this question. And I would like to pass it to Rahul Sharma.
So I think uh, it's a journey, and as Albert said that someone has to guide that journey initially. So maybe having that faith in someone who has experienced this way of working somewhere else, maybe with some other people, and then initially maybe guiding it as a, okay, so this will be the process for some time. Let's try it as it is for some time, and then let's see that how it is going, how it is providing value to us. And if we want to experiment something else, let's try to master this first. Because what happens is, in a lot of companies, people are like, no, I mean, you know what, we are a bank, we are different. So I mean, you might have heard, as a consultant, you might have heard this sentence that we are different, and people don't know that, I mean, there is no difference. Same challenges, same problems, it's only the people who are different. So that is the reason. Uh, so if we are adopting something, let's not call it, if you are not following Scrum, let's not call it Scrum. But if you are calling it Scrum, then initially follow it as it is, and having someone, I mean, who has experienced in this, is helpful. And then once as a team you get mastery in that, then experiment with it, whatever the process is, and then see what value it brings. Because what happens is, uh, uh, people, they think that, okay, we can modify things from the day one as per our convenience, and then it becomes a problem. So yeah, uh, I would like to give it to Atulya.
20 seconds.
Okay, thanks, Rahul. So, I mean, most of us are on the same page, right, in terms of how Scrum Master is going to manage that. I think processes and tools, they don't have a kind of agency, right? They are not going to self-manage their own things, right? You need someone to manage that, right? So again, the same thing. If you are on learning path, probably what Albert has said, that someone, you need someone who is going to help you to go through that, and probably later on when you have mastered the things, probably things, rules of games are going to change for you. That's
Okay. Thanks, Atulya. Thank you for that. Thank you for the answers, everybody. Now, the next question will be seen on your slide. Okay. we still have many companies or organizations asking Scrum Masters to perform the duties of a project manager. When I say PM, is it acceptable? As I said, let's not just bring the textbook answers here. Let's bring out the real time situations. And uh, I'd like Rahul Shah to kick us off, please.
Yeah, very interesting question, right? So always difficult to do two roles. Why? Because to which role you will give priority to. So if you are not giving your 100% for Scrum Master role, then why would you opt for any other role? Now also let's face what's the reality, right? Many companies asking Scrum Master that you perform some other roles as well. So we have to understand. I would go in a way. See, the person they already have a Scrum Master, so that means that they would like to follow Agile methodology, right? And then they would like to move forward. So I doubt that they will have a full-time project manager role. Now, if you map the project manager role from waterfall methodology to Agile, then the role is divided amongst development team, product owner, and Scrum Masters. Right? So if you already have a Scrum team, then if some duties are still remaining for product project manager, which probably won't have a command control, won't be doing the Gantt chart planning and other aspects, but if they are doing some resource management in the sense that uh, they are hiring new people or working with other teams in terms of getting the environment's readiness and other aspects, or doing something on the budgeting front, or helping product owner or other team member or other PMO in terms of managing budgets and putting the forecast and other stuff, I won't mind that one, because the key and the focus is still on the Scrum Master role, and some of the other activities they are not 100% doing the project manager role because they are not the one and the same. So that probably won't happen. That's what I have seen from my experience. So in one of the bank I was working, yeah, they will do some of the aspect of forecasting and putting the budgeting values in the system and other aspects. They will get the value. They will say that they will get the report in terms of not about on value management and those kind of stuff, but they will get the report in terms of that what is the per story, what is the value, what is the money we are spending on getting the one story points delivered. So from that perspective, if they are doing the project manager role, or as I mentioned, budgeting and forecasting, I'm perfectly fine on this one. That's what I believe. Uh, Let me pass it to Sahil for
Hi.
his views.
Yes, thanks, Rahul. So, to me, I do find it acceptable because sometimes the duties or roles of a PM are misunderstood. It does not necessarily have to come from a command and control structure. And I've also heard that sometimes an SM and PM is kind of contradictory, which I don't really agree. The project and the team can very well be following Scrum practices, and if the project manager is someone who, or the Scrum Master is someone who understands and is guiding the team, and along with that is also performing additional tasks or duties which a project manager is supposed to be doing, then why not? I mean, a Scrum Master or a project manager is not a person; it's a role, and a role is comprised of different set of activities and responsibilities. So one person can be overlapping them, is what I feel. I will like to pass on to Nagini.
Actually, a very tricky question in itself. But usually, when you are doing a Scrum Master role, you are not actually cutting yourself off from the kind of duties of other roles, like product project manager, who's actually giving you the forecasting or taking care of the resources. Some kind of stewardship is there in both the roles. Also, I see just little more kind of obligation towards serving others. You will become a good Scrum Master being a project manager. So I won't mind both the teams, both the roles to be the same, done by the same person, unless and until the management is focusing more on the dashboards or the stuff which is not actually kind of agile oriented, like how much are you giving me out of each story point, what is the ROI per so and so. All these questions are not relevant when you are actually doing agile. When you are talking about team performance, you can't take the individual performance into consideration. So if we actually take that stance, remove some of the obstacles, yes, a scrum master can become a project manager in all means. I think that is what my understanding is. And I have seen people who have been project managers have taken this role of a scrum master and exceeded in their expectations also.
Okay, thank you. And that kind of wraps it up very well for this time boxing for this question. Thank you guys for that answers, expert answers. Now, this is a off-topic question. I never prepared for this question, but by the sounds of it, for the last 40 minutes or so, I got to a point. I have very similar thoughts from other people on the call already, saying, how do you line up diversity and inclusion in Scrum? How is there? Can you align the diversity and inclusion in Scrum? For example, we've heard many people today talking about, when we talk about Scrum Master. Uh, I don't know. By default, they go to he. He is a Scrum Master. If he is not able to do do his duties, etc. So that he quotient is a little concern to me. So how do you guys, or what is your take, Vishal? If I may ask you to pitch in here, what is your take in lining up diversity and inclusion in Scrum?
You're actually touching a very sensitive issue. Okay. I think this was 2 years back during APGI when Nilesh and I, we actually presented during the conference around how we really struggle to have a lot of diversity and inclusion with our conferences, with the speakers and with the participants. In fact, actually, if you look at the participants today, we actually have only 2 women, and out of those two, one is a panelist, and that's weird because diversity, it's kind of a challenge to achieve. And I think Scrum doesn't address diversity directly. It's not something that a framework can do. However, it has done quite a few things just to make itself more inclusive. There are some very beautiful examples for it. So uh, one of the things is like the daily Scrum. Now we all have this habit of saying daily stand up a number of times, but there's a reason why it's called the daily Scrum, and it's just again related to inclusion. It's just out of respect that even if you have someone who is physically disabled who cannot stand up, doesn't mean that they cannot be part of the Scrum team. And that's the whole point of why it's always been called daily Scrum and not a daily stand-up. However, we understand the term stand-up comes from a very different, it has different origins, not in Scrum. Similarly, a few years back, I know most of us still use the term grooming, and we are still very used to calling it a product backlog grooming and stuff like that. But the Scrum Guide actually changed it from grooming to refinement. And the reason behind that was that a few years back, grooming started being used as a slang for child molestation. And that actually was disrespectful to a lot. And that's the reason why Scrum Guide changed the terminology from grooming to refinement. And there are a number of other things. When you read the Scrum Guide, these things actually come up. And we're just, if Scrum tries to be inclusive, I think the only other point that we can do is that we just do the same. So I know we are in the habit of saying he does something and not she, or not even neutral terms, for example. But I think that has to come up with practice and just being a bit more sensitive and like mindfully sensitive when we are talking about these things. I still believe that there's. So last year during Women's Day, I did the Scrum Guides has a section where you can send requests about how Scrum Guide should change. So I did write to them saying that, hey, why do you call them Scrum Masters? I mean, isn't master related to a word that is very male? It has origins in the gender male in that case. And maybe Scrum Master in my head is just the term that is still not neutral enough. Uh, yeah, it's okay. So far, it's still called Scrum Master. Hopefully, something neutral comes up over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Vishal. I know that other panelists would love to have their views in,
I'm
but
sorry for that.
no, that's fine. Considering this was one-off question, which I personally thought would make a lot of sense for us to throw this in. Hence, I did that. And anybody who has got any views, not just the panelists, obviously we'll take this back into our Telegram group, or possibly next webinar. We will have specifically 30-minute webinar only to discuss this, because I personally feel it is a very important topic. So moving on, considering the time, we are really doing good on time. So let's progress with our next agenda, which is the kind of heart of conversation again, which is the question and answers from people who are attending this session today. So just a little reminder: if you have a question, raise hands, and our technical moderator Mayuresh will put you through. Unmute your line so that you can ask the questions to our experts. And if you don't want to raise hand, you can put your question, prefixing that with a Q in your chat window, so that we can pick it up from there, and Mayuresh can ask it on your behalf. Okay. Um, so for the panelists, while you're answering the question to anybody who's asked the question, please keep 2 minutes as a maximum time box. I'll again jump in if it exceeds. Thank you. Mayuresh, over to you.
Okay, so can I have a small quick question over that? This is Ankur.
Go for it, Ankur.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Ankur, and I'm a tech lead, and I partially perform the role of tech lead and also as a Scrum master as well. And my CTO of my organization also helps me a lot to groom into these kind of activities. My only question is that when the part comes for a weekly retrospective cycle for a Scrum, that where we actually went wrong, and maybe we need to improvise this over. For 1 or 2 weeks, things are quite lined up, and we try to solve those kind of issues, and we most of the time succeed as well. But as and when, being a product based company with a head count of 30 people, we find it difficult to make it a habit of doing retrospection, and this actually becomes a huge challenge, because as and when things get stretched, like 1 or 2 weeks delay, then we fall apart and things become quite messy. So is there a guideline, or maybe a suggestion, that how can we achieve that, though we do meetings and we lined up meetings, but being a very agile product based company, we tend to reschedule things a lot, reshuffle things a lot due to emergency meetings in between. So any suggestion for that? Thank you.
Uh, okay, so I would like to answer that.
Go for it, Rahul.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Thanks, Ankur. So, one idea could be that when you are committing to, are you working in sprints or iterations?
Sprints.
Okay. So, one idea could be that commit accordingly. So, don't commit to 100% of your capacity. So, because if we take into account all the Scrum events and the activities, then it takes around 20% of the time already. So, commit to 80%. That is one thing. So, I mean, you won't go into that problem that you are over committing, and then because of the events, you are unable to deliver them. That is first thing. Second thing is these ad hoc meetings. So why these ad hoc meetings are happening, and if these Scrum events are happening correctly and we are getting value out of it, then I believe that these ad hoc meetings should go away. uh, so maybe commit less, deliver more. I mean, because if you will overcommit, if you will commit to 100% of a capacity, then we know upfront that, I mean, we are committing to retrospective and reviews and all. But now if we are overcommitting, then we will, I mean, our delivery will look like we are under deliver. So
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Vijay. Vijay Vade. I would like to question you again, Ankur. Question back to you. You said your role is Scrum Master, right?
Correct.
tech lead,
So
and
tech lead and Scrum Master, right?
Yes.
Organization, I have to do more than one role actually.
Anyways, but you
Yeah,
own that role as
correct.
Scrum Master, right?
Correct.
So I would like to, sometimes, the old frameworks I also like. There is something called as accountability and something called as responsibility.
Correct. Correct.
So if you understand the accountability of holding this fort called Scrum, so that comes to you. So my question is, what is that you have done to make sure this runs well, this goes smooth? Because you are the owner of the process, the Scrum. So when you say that we tend to, postpone it, who's this we?
It includes me and the higher technical management. But
Okay.
most of the time, before the day, mostly it is Thursday, and the
Mhm.
retrospection actually happens end of the day Friday. So even we do not try to involve each other during the working hours. We try to do it after 6 p.m.
Mhm.
So we make things quite favorable for higher management as well. But my
Mhm.
stance, when I start feeling that maybe there are a lot of meetings scheduled for Friday maybe, and that is not causing us to achieve something, then day before that I try to do verbal communications with my technical heads that whatever may be the circumstances, we have to actually come to a retrospection meeting, or else things tend, because if we don't sharpen right there itself, we are actually going to cut nothing further.
Yeah.
So this is what is my stance, that being proactively awake, that I have to take care, that I need to do a verbal communication with my technical heads to make sure that this does happen. So
Okay. Sorry,
this is
guys.
what.
Sorry. We may have to take this back into chat, Vijay and Ankur, because we'll have more people asking questions. I am not kind of in any way discouraging people to ask questions, but if it goes beyond the time box, let's take it on the chat itself, because that is still available for everybody to view. Is that okay, guys? Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Vijay. Sorry to cut you off, but
No, no.
we
I
ran
think
over 2
I
minutes
think in a
over.
way he answered.
Yeah. Okay.
In a way he
Okay.
answered. He
Great.
need to just retrace back to his question answer, and then I think he'll get the question
Yeah.
right answer to him. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Mayresh, next one, please.
Srikanth Ganeshan, please.
Yeah, team. I just thought of asking the heading itself as a discussion point. Scrum Master as a superhero and or a humble servant leader. What I heard is, or what my understanding is, he make the team members to be a superhero. That part is correct, and probably have a thought, more thoughts um, on this area, and as well as and or a humble servant leader.
Okay. Who wants to give it a stab? 2 minutes.
Let me take that. You know,
Yep.
so see, when we actually see the role of the king in our olden days, you feel like king has got all the powers and other stuff, but the thing is what he will do is which is good for his people in the kingdom. The same way I would relate a scrum master to be powerful, assertive, but still work for the team. That way we say he's a superhero. When something comes out, he's going to fight for the team, but he's always humble with his team. That is what we meant here. When it is for the team, he is a superhero. When he is with the team, he is a servant leader. If I can make it like that.
So, can I take this one?
Yes.
Simple question. How many of you guys know Tenzin Norgay?
I think most.
Yeah.
It was in history in school books.
Who is he?
It's a person. It's a human being.
Yeah. So he is the person who
led the Neelams. Yeah.
Yes, he led Edmund Hillary to Mount Everest.
Yes.
Correct.
Right?
Sherpa.
But not everyone knows him. That's a servant leadership. Without Tenzin, Edmund Hillary might have not gone to Everest at all. That peak achievement of Edmund Hillary, everyone knows, but not everyone knows this servant who helped him to achieve that. That's the take of mine as a Scrum Master. So he helps the masters, that is the team and the org and the product, to achieve its peak by all facilitation methods, all collaborative methods, all coaching that the other person needs.
Thanks, Albert. I think that's just in time. Thank you very much for your views, guys. Next question, please, Mayresh.
Gyaneshwar, do you want to go next?
Yes, I can go next. Thank you. Hi, all, this is Danesha. My question is around the retrospective. In retrospective, while setting the stage and gathering the data, I see that most of the team members talk about their work in irrespective or instead of talking about the team collaboration process and techniques, other techniques. So, is it a common or how to improve on this or how to coach the team?
Would want to go for it?
So, as a Scrum Master, you can throw up powerful question. Hey, what do we need to improve on our collaboration? What do you think about our collaboration? How well are we doing our technical reviews? Do you see any improvement that in that area? Pose the question as like this. These are some of the powerful questions that you can use to make them think. Also, in Spotify model, if you have used, there are some surveys, open-ended question surveys, which you can ask the team to fill in before coming to the retrospective, and use that as, hey, we see we didn't do multiple builds today at this time, so can we discuss about it? Here you are not pushing the your item to theirs, but you are trying to make them think in that direction. This is one of the way you can do it. And yes, as you told, it is many places it's common, and it is Scrum Master who need to step up his game to make them talk. Yeah.
I, do we have time?
Yeah, we have another 40 seconds, please.
Okay. So I see this as a beauty contest problem. So it's like, what do you want? What do you want to do with this money? I want to do. I want to world peace. Now, what that world peace means, nobody knows. So maybe action items. So okay, collaboration. Then what can we do? What is the action item for us to improve on collaboration? So I think every problem should have an action item against it for the team.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Very quickly, if just a couple of lines on
Yeah,
this one.
yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah. So Dhaneshwar, I would do focused retrospective. So rather than doing a monotonous, so it shouldn't become monotonous, but something new. So if you are identifying that something is not being talked about, why not do a focus retrospective on that particular word or topic itself? Like let's do a retrospective on collaboration and then move forward. That also can be done, and then I have seen very good results on this one. Like quality is one of the word, or completing the sprint goal is another one. So you can do that as well.
Hello?
Thanks, Rahul.
Yeah, if time permits.
Uh, we are running out of time on
Okay,
this. I
sure.
mean, I'm not really, kind of restraining you guys not to answer.
Yeah.
Please use the chat box and maybe say Gyaneshwar, this is the another thing which you can try, or whatever that suggestion may be. But we want to accommodate more questions from more people.
Yeah.
Hence, I'm forcibly time
Yes,
boxing
please.
it.
Yes.
Sorry about this, guys. Okay. The next one, please, Marish.
So I'm taking this one from the chat box. So people who have not raised their hands, there's a raise hand button on the participants list, where you can raise your hand so that we can we can enable you to ask the questions. Right now, the questions that we have raised hands, we have answered. This one is coming from the chat board. How to manage the risk in Agile. So, uh, can somebody take a shot on this?
Uh, okay, I can go quickly. So, how to manage risk? So, if we know upfront about something, for example, our team, they need to coordinate with another team, and now if we don't manage it, it will become a risk. So then, before sprint planning, uh, maybe identifying those people and including them in sprint planning, that we might need you or we will need you in this week of the sprint. That is one way. Uh, Definition of ready. I think that's a good way to manage risks. So if a user story or if a requirement is not meeting the definition of ready, then there will be a risk. So yeah, someone else.
Yeah, Sahil. In fact, a good point. Definition of ready. It will also work the other way around. If there is a risk, there is a high chance that some work items are not going to meet the definition of ready. So that can be a good point to highlight the risks. Managing the risks themselves, I don't think will work very differently in Agile as compared to any other process. You will need a risk. You will need what impact it's going to have, what are the possible mitigations, and just you have to bring it up in time before the next plan increment gets impacted.
Yeah, even the daily scrum is a point to manage the risk, right? And then responding
Yeah.
to change. So if a daily scrum is there, then probably risk management won't be that big.
So
Last
just
30
I
seconds. 30
I
seconds.
would say it is not that you have to wait for the retro to happen. You can just call in for a meeting one on one also to raise a risk or a concern, which may become a risk going forward. Don't need to wait for a ceremony to happen and then come out of that and declare that there is something which may be a risk. No, whenever it is seen, you can come out and declare it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Next question, please, Marish.
Tejas, I've unmuted you. Can you ask your question to the panel?
Okay, sure. So I've already posted my question in the chat box, but I would like to repeat it again. So my question is, a Scrum Master, if he has to work on a single project or a product development, he can best showcase his knowledge, his experience with the help of team. But what if he or she is expected to look after multiple product or project development?
Okay, good
question is
question.
So with multiple product and project, do you mean multiple teams?
Yes, that's correct.
okay. Is the question to ask like, is that allowed?
Atulya, go for it. Vijay, go for it.
Yeah, I would like to go for it, but I didn't really understand the full question, and hence I would like
So
to.
if
Yeah.
if a person has to help more than one team,
Hmm.
then what could be the limitations? Is it okay?
Yeah.
I think the question is if what is the advice to Scrum Master if he has to handle multiple teams.
Yeah,
So this is for Scrum Master or architect.
Management.
This is for Scrum Master.
Okay, this is for Scrum Master. Yeah. So I think if you are handling one team and you feel that this team has actually gone to a very good level, I mean, kind of performing level on the team stages. So I would suggest you, because you as an individual, you need not put in that much effort in that particular team. So you can actually go ahead and take care of another team also. So anyways, your responsibility as a Scrum Master is to make sure a self-organized team, and that two letter itself has a very big meaning in it. So you make a team self-organized and then you move on, or maybe you take care of this team for some time and then next team also. Nothing stops you. But I think more than two would be overkill.
Yep,
So
I would like to go Sahil here. I agree with Vijay, and in fact, there is an advantage. Once a team becomes self-sustaining, moving on to guide or coach another team will actually help in spreading the agile values throughout the larger part of the organization, and that's also a duty or a responsibility of a Scrum Master to gradually start coaching other areas in the organization. So I think it might be a good opportunity. Just you have to be very careful that the team is indeed reached a self-sustaining
Yeah,
base.
true. And it also
There
your
is
self-capability that whether you can manage it.
Yes.
That's the first question.
there's a saying that a good Scrum Master work with two teams and a great Scrum Master work with one team.
ए नहीं वो चेंज करो अभी.
Yeah.
Controversies there,
नहीं मुझे अच्छी लग
controversies.
मुझे अभी भी अच्छी
थोड़ी
लगती है.
30,
ऐसा थोड़ी होता
Let's discuss later.
30
Okay.
seconds, guys. Anything more to add on? 30 seconds.
so
That's
so
right. Yeah,
so
maybe
if we
one
ask,
point. Okay, go ahead.
okay, see, if I ask you to watch a TV at the same time talk in a phone and do cooking, can we do it properly? We can do
Uh,
it,
yes.
I can.
but
Uh, yeah.
Yes.
what is the end result would be?
Yeah, but no one said that you have to do all the three at the same time.
Exactly.
Correct.
See,
So
scientifically, it is proven that a human brain is actually capable of doing four things at a time.
okay,
However, there is a possibility. If you are doing four things at a time, there has to be certain things are already stored in your subconscious mind, like your breathing. You don't really need to think about it, but there are certain things which are really gone into subconscious mind.
correct,
So if it is really gone into it, then you can think of an activity which is really need a thoughtfulness and conscious mind. So
correct.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So
Unless
Okay,
that's why I'm saying team wise.
okay,
If
guys.
yeah,
We are
yes,
exceeding the time. Sorry, Albert.
sure. Yeah.
You
no
want to put
issues.
whatever your reviews in on chat, please feel free to do so, which will help the person who asked the question. But at the moment, I may have to move to the next question. Sorry.
Sure.
Next
So,
one.
right now, we have answered all the questions on the raise hand options and the chat. Um, any
E- e-
panels? Yeah.
no, you're sure? Because I think we saw a lot of other questions like is government retrospecting the lockdown, etc. I don't know if you actually got a chance
Yes,
to
there
see
is
them.
one more question from Nizamuddin also.
Yeah. So, Myresh, you want to go through the
Oh,
history
yeah,
as
yeah.
well?
I just saw that. Yeah. So I read it out. How do Scrum Master role educate, respond if the leadership asks to increase the velocity and on insisting team dilute the user story points? Sorry for missing out that, and thanks for pointing this to me.
No worries. Who wants to take a
So
go at it?
so something on increasing velocity, right? So so it's very easy. It's very easy. So if I mean management are interested in the numbers, so it is very easy to fool people. Just do because if what this whole relative sizing, it means that like you are comparing user stories within themselves, right? So what people does is, okay, so right now it is 3 and the biggest user story is 5. So what Albert said, just double the story point and then you can make fool of them.
Yeah,
So management need to understand that for what reason, for what is the reason behind this intention. So intentions
Yeah.
are very important. Why I want to use a particular technique. Uh, the question is how to educate. Okay. Uh, so how to educate is, I think first thing is that people need to understand it's not against the number of hours or number of days, because there are some limitations with the time when time comes into picture, where so if you remember when we were in college, when we were given 1 whole month to write an essay, when did we start writing it? Of course, the last day, right? Especially boys. Even if you give 1 week, even if you give 1 year, it will take the same time. So there are some limitations with the time when we size anything in time. So that's why people need to understand that it's an estimation. There is a reason why it is known as an estimation. So uh, so to educate them, it's like idea behind that, and maybe the starting point could be the video from MicCon, that why it is done. So again, the story points are not important. It's again the journey, the discussions that happen, and people who will be working on that particular user story. Do they understand what needs to be done? If they do understand it, it doesn't matter whether it is 1 or 8. It doesn't matter. But if they don't understand that, they need to discuss. That's important.
Thanks, Rahul.
Anyone?
Shriyasha, if it
Can
time
I take
allows.
a try at that
Yeah.
question? Maybe?
Go for it. Go for it. Okay, then I'll
All
probably
right.
have to reduce the number of questions to be asked further. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, this is Vijay. So I could not collect name of the person who asked this question, but
Is
very shortly,
Nizamuddin?
I'm Hi Nizamuddin. So this is a very common question and very short and practical trick that I might tell you on this is that try to utilize Scrum goals. So at the time of reviews, at the time of retrospectives or any kind of governance, try to bring the conversation back to Scrum goals. This is what we have achieved. This is what we have reached to, and that way the mindset automatically or slowly and gradually shifts to value-oriented mindset, because then people start seeing value or the objectives or other outcomes that the team is achieving. So yeah, try to utilize Scrum goals as a tool to shift the mindset slowly. It's not a thing that going to change in like overnight. It will take time, but as you use the Scrum goals and as you start showing or surfacing the value through it, the mindset will gradually shift.
Okay. Last three questions to kind of close the session there, at least question and answers. Last three questions, Mayuresh.
No, I think we are done on the
So
question
Rohan,
part.
Rohan has
Anybody?
I think
asked.
Gaurang is asking a
Gaurang
question.
is asking.
Yeah.
Let's take the one
So
in the
Rohan here.
chat
Oh,
box.
oh
Rohan.
yeah.
There was
I
one on
just saw.
government.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
Ask.
yeah. So Rohan here. Not much like a question, but right. What I see a very interesting observation. Right now I see the government of India. Right, it is into the agile mode. So when I was, there was some questions regarding the retrospectives. What I felt was the government, with the lockdown, it is doing these kind of retrospectives. And just imagine if the government said that, we do not have time for retrospectives. They said that retrospectives, right, they can be kept aside. We can just go with some decisions or we can keep the work going. So that's an interesting observation. What I feel that this government, first, right, it did a 3 week sprint. Then people suggested 3 weeks is not good. Maybe do a 2 week sprint. Right now they are in a 2 week sprint mode. And after each, right, so you see, there is a continuous track of the statistics, the progress that we are making, the actual problems that we are facing. And based on that, right, we are seeing in the next sprint, the government is improving whatever mistakes they did or whatever could make the situation better. So just an observation, see the relevance of Agile. The second interesting thing, which we were discussing was regarding the story point and increasing the story point. So, here also I was thinking when China reported the numbers, right, they know how to show the numbers better. So now you see, whatever numbers were reported, right, they seem to be fake. It happened over here also, right, in India also. A lot of places the numbers are not being reported correctly. So that's what happens when everyone is looking at the scoreboard, and everyone is looking at the number of infected people and deaths. People have started faking them, right? So I saw over here in my state itself, right, when they were reporting the number, they started throwing the ball from this court to that court, saying this person is, he originated from that state and he has come to our state, so we will not count him in ours. So that's how you improve your numbers. So again, this is an observation. I don't know if someone wants to pitch in and see what the situation is going on. But when we get too much on the numbers, right, that is what starts happening.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Hello.
Rohan. Thanks, Rohan.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Vijay. Do we want to take one last question,
Uh,
considering we still have retrospective to be done?
okay,
And
Gaurang was
then
asking one question. I think, Gaurang, do you want to go?
Yep, yep. So thanks. Um, My question is basically how do we manage the psychological safety thing when I would explain a situation. So I like an advice on how would we manage the psychological safety in this scenarios. And the analogy which I'm going to draw is basically me as a scrum master and my peers and my manager. So say for example, we get into a meeting and my manager has got a set agenda in his mind saying that this is what he wants to drive. Now he would open up with the team, and then once we start discussing, say he wants to push in that through the scrum master saying that this has to happen like this, and kind of the scrum masters does not agree to it. But if say scrum masters open up and say that this is an anti pattern, or this is how we should not do it, that has been taken as an ego, and then later on it it that ego is thrown off, either in a different way where that scrum master would be sidelined, or he would not be even uh, respected or things like that. So how do we manage this kind of a situation?
Can I take that up, Sahil here?
Yes.
So
Go for
Gaurav,
it.
thanks for bringing it up. It is a scenario that I have been in and I have seen in, and it is a very difficult place to be in. I completely agree with you. I think a lot depends on what you as a human, you as in whatever this person in that spot as a human being values. If being in sidelined in some way is a fear and it is going to have some serious impact, then do consider maybe looking at other the team, or if talking to different people in the senior stakeholder management to see if there are ways in which you can kind of spread what values you are trying to bring in rather than relating it or narrowing it down to only in the hands of one person. If it's an organization where you can't change the organization structure, at best try to spread the values that you're bringing in, because I think if there is genuine good in the values that you're bringing in, at least few more people will be more open to accepting those. All of these conversations are going to be difficult. There is no easy way out of it. But I will still say, don't give in to pressure. Keep fighting against it as long as you know that your values and principles are good.
Another way you could handle. I mean, now it's like uh, it's action which you will take will be you will be taking now, but as a preventive action. I mean, for the next time, what is a better way is whenever we are going into with to work with anyone, whether it's a team or it's a manager. I think setting up a working agreement always helps. So it's like, okay, how we will be working with each other. So whether it's your manager or whoever it is, even head of the department. So like, how we will be working with each other. What is expected, what is allowed, what is not allowed. So sometimes that could help.
All
Okay.
right.
Hi,
I
uh,
I really
Vijay
want.
here. Do we have time for that question? It's an interesting.
Last 30 seconds, guys. Last 30
All right,
seconds, please.
sure. Great. Try to utilize feedback. Give feedback to the manager that these are the problems that are being created because of this kind of situation. Apart from that, try to break the hierarchical mindset itself by creating like 360-degree feedback situations. So bring it. So have events or have regular 360-degree feedbacks, like everyone in the team, irrespective of the hierarchy, gives feedback to each other. If it's difficult to do it like openly, have an anonymous feedback thing. Uh, the manager should understand
Uh,
eventually.
yeah, last one I would like to add just one sentence. This is Vijay. Uh, do I have?
Go for it. Go for it, Vijay.
Yeah,
Go for
okay.
it.
Yeah, this is Vijay Vade. Yeah. So I'm very specific question you asked, and I would like to highlight upon that. You said psychological safety. The very basic thing, if you understand psychology, there's nothing called as in this world wherein there are billions of people. The psychological safety has taken a toll on it. Now, I would like to, if you remember, Gandhiji has defined a very good term called as non-cooperation movement. When there was no psychological safety, the whole India was being ruled by Britishers. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't do revolt. Bloody, if you go to revolt, you will be hanged or you will shoot at sight. He started with something called as non-cooperation movement. I would like to stop it there. You need to think upon it. Uh, and non-cooperation movement does not happen by an individual, but it has to be happen by a. I think I have given a lot of hint to you. But if you want to discuss, we can connect later.
This is great. The inputs are very great. I think At least one is what I would implement.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Good stuff. Lovely. Great. Brilliant, guys. So that kind of concludes our question and answer session. We still have last bit going, as many of you kind of contributed towards this question and answer session. Thank you so very much. And of course, our wonderful panelists sitting here all the way, answering all your questions so gracefully. So thank you, all of you. Now, last but definitely not the least, I'd like to just say, at the beginning, I quoted this APGI 2020. We did schedule everything, but unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we had to pull it off for time being. However, just keep an eye on apgionline.com just in case. Obviously, we will keep updating the site once the government is okayed it and we all get back to normal. Be rest assured, we will have our conference going and kicking in. We have a lot of big guys coming in across the world to be there with us in order to talk on these three themes, which is mankind, machine, and marvelous agile. Okay, that's one bit. And last 3 minutes remaining. um, I'm just going to share a link with you guys. It's a Menti link, nothing but retrospective. I have shared the link just now. Please go on to that link and place your answer those questions which are available there, so that we understand the inspect and adapt concept very much. As Rohan rightly said, when government of India can do, small groups like us can definitely inspect and adapt. So hopefully you guys can see the Menti link, and yeah, most of you have answered it as well. So I'll just give it another 30 seconds to close this off before I move on to what didn't you like so much in this session as well. So just 20 more seconds on this, please. I'm getting responses already. Another 10 seconds before we move on to the next question, which is what needs improvement. Okay, the next link will be this. Hopefully you can see what do you think needs improvement. For us facilitators, for the team here, the panelists, the group as such, what do you think we need to improve on?
Are you sharing the screen by any chance?
No, I'm not sharing the
Okay,
screen
perfect.
because I'm
Okay.
looking at the results.
Sure.
Please use that link. Yeah, I'm getting responses, so appreciate that. So another 20 seconds before we kind of close it there. Awesome. Thank you so much for your retrospective views, and so nice to have these views done. And if you would like to see more of these kind of topics or any new topics that you'd want as a webinar, as a panel discussion in future, I've sent you another idea boards link. Please go there and drop a card there, whichever of your choice, so that we can start scheduling these, and possibly you yourself can come and present it on the APGI platform. That is what this group is known for. We give the platform, you make the most of it in spreading the agile knowledge across the globe. That is what it is. With that, I think we are just there. I'd really like to thank each and every person on this call, whoever was there now and they are not there on the call right now. Everybody, a huge thank you. Stay safe, everybody, and take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.
Very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.